Alright, welcome, and today we'll be talking about a build for Fighter 1, Thief 11. Very simple and very fun. Now, at early levels, you don't want to really start with Fighter. You can if you choose to, but I like making Lae'zel here, a Gith, my rogue, because she gets medium armor, naturally from being a Gith. Now, I went Rogue 3 so I could get Thief right off the bat, have 2 bonus actions. If you don't like that and you didn't want to be a Gith, you can just go Fighter 1 right at first level and then go Rogue right after. We'll be respecking soon to be Fighter 1 first anyway, so that's up to you. Very simple. Early things like the Speedy Light Feet are very good. Gloves of Power, medium armor, anything you can really get your hands on. This is only a level 3 character. The game has just started. Find what you can and wield it. Now, once you want to get out of this, you have to start, getting near the end of Act 1, you'll actually find some better gear. One of the first items we'll be talking about is called Boots of Stormy Clamor. These boots are great. They add 2 stacks of reverberation every time you put a condition on an enemy. This sounds complicated, but it's really not. Especially if you have a way to add a condition on every attack. Now, here's the Boots of Stormy Clamor. Whenever you inflict a condition upon a hostile creature, also 2 turns of reverberation. Now, Gloves of Baneful Striking. Whenever you deal damage with a weapon attack, target receives -1d4 penalty to saving throws. That's a condition. Now, this doesn't benefit you that much because you don't cast spells, but it'll help your allies. And Boots of Stormy Clamor do get benefited because this means every attack you do now adds 2 stacks of reverberation. Now we're level 6 now, so it's been a little bit longer. Again, near the end of Act 1. We have the same bow. I use Hunting Dagger as the offhand. Speedy Reply as the main hand. You can use really whatever you want in the main hand, but the offhand weapon is more important for a thief because you have 2 bonus actions. That means you have 2 attacks with your offhand. Not with your main hand. You only have 1 attack with your main hand. So pick whatever weapon you like there. Because of the Fighter 1, you take 2 weapon fighting. So now you add your ability modifier to your damage of your offhand weapon as well as your main hand. The first feat I took here was Athlete. And then, because you're a fighter, you can wear heavy armor. Heavy armor allows you to be actually tanky, where Rogue usually you only get light armor as an option. So, Adamantine Splint early game is very, very good for defense. You won't be able to stealth much as this thief, but that's not what this build's about. This build is using your strength. As you can see, we're already at 19. And this giving the 2 damage reduction and the base 18 AC will keep you very alive. I also wear the Bringer Protection early to get 19 AC. And this helps add a little damage whenever you get healed, but this is unnecessary. Really, again, at early levels, whatever you can find in the other slots are just whatever you can get. I put this also because you get 2 acid damage. But it's not that complicated. At these levels, you have a pretty high chance to shove things pretty far. Because again, this is a strength-based rogue. And I originally planned it as a shove/throw rogue. Now, 80% chance to make someone go that far is pretty good. And it's a bonus action, means you can do it twice in a combat, in the same round. And then your throwing will also be usually a pretty good chance, as you see. Now, it also automatically prones them when you throw, so it gives you a lot of options. Like all 3 of those people, if we had a cliff nearby, they would all be dead. And so if you are in the right encounters, this character turns 2 bonus actions and a regular action into 3 deleting of enemies. Now let's move on and see how it advances. This next part is going to be into Act 2. Because again, that was the end of Act 1. Act 2, you start to get items that really define builds. And we'll see the one here that really defines this build. It's a weapon, as you might guess, and as you also might guess, it is used in the offhand. Like I just said, we get 2 attacks with the offhand, just 1 with the main. I'm going to repeat this a lot of times, but you got to remember it. Now, Render of Mind and Body. This deals 1 to 8 psychic damage while you have advantage. Excellent. Rogue needs advantage anyway, because Rogue gets sneak attack when you have advantage or when an ally is near an enemy. Now, having advantage becomes crucial to the build. I also wear this weapon on my main hand that when you attack with advantage, you inflict bleeding. Together, that sounds like it might be hard to get advantage, but Risky Ring gives you advantage on all attack rolls. Very good for rogues. And you do receive disadvantage on saving throws, but, I mean, my mental stats are already dumped anyway. I'm going to fail saving throws if they're happening, and most saving throws you're going to get earlier in the game are dex-based anyway, because they're usually big AoE damage. I didn't change my amulet or the ring. I did add Icarus gloves because I wanted to try putting noxious fumes down with all your normal attacks, which is pretty nice. I kept the Boots of Stormy Clamor because the noxious fumes still give them a condition. Now I switched the armor because I wanted to try out Dwarven Splint Mail, and the extra Constitution really helped. Now, I have less damage reduction, so I will take more damage per attack, but having a base of 69 health over here was not too bad. But it's really an option. Flesh Melter Cloak, amazing. People hit you, they take damage. You're already doing a lot of damage in this build. You're very bursty while being tanky enough to live. But doing more damage when they're hitting you is great. And then Dark Justiciar Helmet increases your crit range by 1. Incredibly crucial for the build because crit range being increased is favorable with sneak attack because sneak attack is dice. But then also, since you're rolling with advantage because of Risky Ring, criticals now are even more likely to happen because you're rolling 2 dice and picking the better one. The better one can often become that one, the one that's going to crit. So, now let's look at what the damage looks like. Because there's a special interaction here that I want to show. Do you see that miss? That's on a 98%. Now, we have a hit. Now, if you notice, the psychic damage is added, but it's actually added twice. This is the psychic damage from the Render of Mind and Body. It adds 1d8 psychic, but it adds it twice. It adds it when the sneak attack goes off, and it also adds it with the normal damage. Let's do this again. Okay, we got the crit. Now, it didn't really help because he died before the sneak could trigger on it. But let's just imagine that if it did crit, so we got 16 base, not a big jump on the base, but if this had crit, that would have been 15 more damage and 1d8 more. So let's just say if there's this and 1d8, average on d8 is 4.5, so let's just say 4. So 6 plus 30, there'd be 36 added onto this if I got the sneak attack, which I should have. So what's that? 52, 54, 59, a 60 damage crit. Not bad for a single bonus action attack. Now, it's not too crazy. I mean, it's nice, especially at level 8. And you can even get that going at level 6 or 7 if you want to rush those items. But let's see what it gets to once you're a little bit higher level. It won't be too dramatic increase. You'll see a small item change here too. Now, Boots of Stormy Clamor, with what I was using for the Noxious Fumes, it was okay, but because the Noxious Fumes, they have a chance to save against it, it doesn't proc on every attack, so you don't get a condition on every attack, which ends up meaning you don't get Boots of Stormy Clamor on every attack. So I personally chose to switch out Boots of Stormy Clamor and switch back to the Speedy Light Feet. Since you have 2 bonus actions as a fighter rogue, having the bonus action dash sometimes is really valuable, because here it'll be used to gain lightning charges. Now, I kept the Icarus gloves with the caustic band. It's not super crazy because the caustic band only adds once, but this was to help my team out and to help add some AoE damage that this character otherwise doesn't have. Hopefully, though, you're killing people before it matters. Now, if you look otherwise, though, the items are the same, level 10, but now I also have a special thing here, Supreme Sneak. I'm 1 Fighter, 9 Rogue at 9 Thief. At 9 Thief, you get Supreme Sneak. You just become invisible. Short rest, once per short rest, become invisible. It costs an action, which for a lot of builds, that might sound bad, but when you're already, your main action only has 1 attack, you don't really care that much about that. You do care about invisibility. So let's look at what damage looks like. You will notice we do have, I think I did change the feat. No, it's the right feats. Same feats. I think I just changed my stats so that I had 22 strength, 16 dex, 18 con. Now, this is natural strength. I have no elixirs. I got the boon from Anti-Ethel, as well as the Potion of Everlasting Vigor. That combined with the strength ASI made it so that I could have a 22 strength. Now at next level we will actually get another feat because Rogue at 10 gets a feat, so we'll see what we get then. But look at the damage first. Now this is a non-sneak attack. It's not bad. 24, 28, 30, 42. 42 damage, non-sneak attack. Not bad. But let's look at what the main hand looks like. And now it gets a sneak attack too because this was before combat round started. But so we get to compare. This is the 42 and this is 25. Now 25 is not that inviting. Not that great. You can't do much with 25. But 42 is a little better. That psychic damage coming in twice is a big deal. And you gotta remember, if I can crit with this, let's see if I can do it. No luck on this one. But I mean, you're still pumping out without crits, without your main hand attack. That was 58 damage. And I do this for the last 13, so 71 damage with no crits. And that's not bad. Chances, you see there's a lot of chances on the corrosion, but these guys are rolling so well. Look at this. Look at these guys. Most items like Icarus gloves have a set DC, so you will see though now, as we optimize in Act 3, that a few items have changed. 4 items have changed very importantly, and then a couple others too. Yeah, I meant to show also the lightning charges in that last one, but that's okay. We'll get to that in the next one anyway, because you keep wearing the Speedy Light feat. Now, the first item that upgrades is your helmet. You start off, remember you had the Justiciar helmet, but now you're using the Servox Horned helmet. This adds to your crit range, but also has dark vision, as well as immune to frighten and other emotion altering conditions, which is very important for certain items and or spells. One of which is one of my favorite, the Clown Hammer. We can get to that later. But the cloak is unchanged. We'll talk about these two later. The boots, Speedy Light feat still. Risky ring. I changed the acid ring out because the damage is 2 on every attack. Not that big a deal. Killer Sweetheart assures you crits, which is a much bigger deal. Amulet of Greater Health. We all know having more health is good. So 23 con, great. Now these two are the big increase, and you'll see why. Let's start off the fight. Get you over here. Boom. Now we'll talk to my friend here, Guardbalf. Now, this was a non-crit. Non-critical. That's a lot bigger damage than last time. Now let's address a couple things here. Now instead of 2 instances of psychic damage, there are 3 instances of psychic damage. If you notice, when you mouse over them, it kind of tells you where they come from. This one is just base, so it just shows the psychic damage. But this one, look, it shows piercing, and this one shows force. So what do you think they're coming from? The piercing and the force. Basically, the sneak attack adds the extra psychic, but so does this force damage now. We'll talk about the force damage. It comes from this item, the gloves I wanted to wait for. Stalker gloves. They add initiative, and they add on your sneak attack deal 1 to 4 additional force. This is a new source of damage, so because of that, this damage rider, psychic damage from your weapon, is added a 3rd time. Now we have psychic damage added 3 times. Amazing. Now we're gonna stealth. Like I said, using your bonus action, you can kill a guy, go immediately invisible. Now we wait for these guys to look for us and fail. But look at the other damage here. Now, this is 22. Base, it was only 1d6 plus 1 plus 7. But my strength modifier being quite large now, 24 strength. But doubled because of vulnerability. Now, why is it that they're vulnerable? Ballast armor, the other item I was waiting for. Enemies within 7 feet become vulnerable to piercing damage unless they are resistant or immune to it. Gain +2 to initiative. So with these two, you have +3 to your initiative. That's why you see I'm going first a lot. And my dex is 16, so that helps too. You could actually pump it up to 18 if you wanted to dump your con fully. I was just kind of lazy here, so I didn't do much with the stats. The last feat I took, by the way, was Savage Attacker, which makes the dice rolls be a little better. And since you see that we're rolling a lot of dice, it helps the average of the dice we're rolling improve a lot. It doesn't help with sneak attack, but it helps with everything else you roll with the sneak attack, like you see here. It doesn't say it on these, but if you notice on this one, it does re-roll the psychic. It means it all re-rolls the force and then all 3 of the psychics. It also re-rolls your initial die. Now, re-rolling 1 rider 3 times is pretty nice. Or I guess 3 riders 1 time, if you want to be technical. But let's look at the more important thing. Let's go up to our friend Guard Wolf. Now, me and Guard Wolf, we always have fun because he's the only one who has enough HP for this to work. Now, his Executioner from the... yes, I know. Okay, so notice this critical is a lot higher. And now, because we were outside of combat, actually, it didn't add the vulnerable here. So, before we address how this is over 150, we're actually going to look at what it really looks like. So I have this already ready. Now, the reason that happened is because ballast armor has that aura that if you're in it, you are vulnerable to piercing, but it only applies to them if they're in combat. So in that instance, we started a new combat, and that meant for that first attack, he doesn't get ballast armor. Every following attack would have, but as you see, we didn't even need the ballast armor there to kill him. Now, the reason you saw the damage increase there is because of 2 other items, the dagger and the short bow that are being worn. I will explain them thoroughly right now. So, Dolor Amarus. It has an ability called Dolor Amarus. When you land a critical hit with this weapon, it deals an additional 7 damage. Sounds good. This one, when you land a critical hit with this weapon, it deals an additional 7 damage. Same thing, Dolor Amarus. But if you notice, last time I wasn't attacking with either of these. I was actually attacking with this. So, they're actually lying to you. It's not that when you land a critical with this weapon, it deals an additional 7 damage. It's when you land a critical with any weapon, it deals an additional 7 damage. Now, what's important is, since I have 2 things that do that on any weapon, when I crit with this weapon, it does it from both. And what we learn is they're actually lying again. Because it's not actually just doubled. Or sorry, it's not just adding 7 2 times on your weapon. It adds 7 2 times here, 7 2 times here, 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 and here. 6 places. And if you count here and the piercing above it, it is adding it before the vulnerable. So technically speaking, it's adding 14 8 times for a total of, let's see, 14 times 8. That would be 112. That's 112 damage added on to every critical you do with sneak attack. Because remember, sneak attack adds the force, the dice, 2 psychics. These instances of dice, if you notice, are the only ones gaining the 14 from Dolor. Otherwise, the lightning charges would also do an extra 14 damage each. They'd be doing 15 damage lightning right here. But they're not. So it's only the dice. Only the weapons that are causing dice to happen. New instances of them too. So each instance adds it. So that's why getting the psychic damage 3 times is so important, because it's actually adding the 14 damage 3 times. It's why getting the force damage here to add that psychic damage matters, because it also gets it. So really, this gets you it twice. So in total, what do we have here? We have a critical for 193. Let's see, 4, 5, 6, 201 plus 70, 271. That's a crit for 271 damage. You know, it's all the same gear I was just showing you. Nothing's changed. But this crit is 3 times what the normal sneak attack does. And it's because we're getting this huge, huge base number added. And then at this level, besides just damage, because you have 11 in Rogue, you also get reliable talent. When you make an ability check with a skill you are proficient with, the lowest result you can roll on the die is a 10. That means my main action, my action here starts becoming a lot more useful. Because even though it might not do the damage the other things do, now that 85% chance to throw this person, that's actually a lie. It's not an 85% chance. It's a 100% chance. I cannot roll under a certain number. I don't know why they're standing. Yeah, there they go. But as you see, it basically means I can throw anyone anytime I want. What is this athletics check? Let's see. I rolled under a 10 probably there, and it put it at a 10, and my total is 26. With a 26 athletics, you always succeed. So you can shove and throw anyone you want at any time. You can do 271 damage on a crit with your offhand when you want. And you can escape any fight with Supreme Sneak at any time. Besides that, I liked Gith because Misty Step gave you an option to teleport. Your jumps get pretty nuts in distance. And so, because you have Athlete and 24 Strength. So with the Gith jumping enhancement, you also can... Let's just show you. Oh, I guess not. We'll just normal jump away. Twice. And so yeah, this is unenhanced jump. Imagine if I had triple the jumping distance. I could have jumped across the city. Do I have a potion for it, actually? No. That's okay. But yeah, there you go, and I hope you enjoyed learning a little bit about Fighter 1 Thief 11. One of my favorite new builds, and I will write a little something about it if you didn't want to watch this whole thing. But remember, the feats were Athlete, an ASI Strength, Savage Attacker, in that order. Otherwise, enjoy it. Go for the items you think early will help you a lot. Another option is using a weapon that does radiant damage and luminous armor. I did that early with my main hand just to apply radiant shockwave. But there's a lot of good options. I mean, even Linebreaker boots can come in and give you Wrath, which works on all your attacks. So yeah, enjoy it. Try out new things, and hopefully I'll make another fun build guide. Tell me what you guys want to see. I love the fun builds. And hopefully see you again.